Do you love to pray? Where would we go in the New Testament, in the teachings of Jesus, if we wanted to find Jesus giving teaching on how to pray? Well, we might be inclined to go straight to what's called the Lord's Prayer, which is really the prayer for disciples that he gave in Matthew chapter 6. What a wonderful prayer that is. That is so rich. However, we can go back a little bit further than that, because there is something that Jesus said prior to teaching them how to pray in Matthew 6 verse 6 that we really need, and it's a practice that we really need today. I just want to read this verse, Matthew 6 verse 6. Jesus says, "When you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you." So just note, he begins with when you pray, not if you pray, when you pray. So it is expected, it is Jesus' expectation that disciples will pray. This is the will of God. This is Jesus' desire for his followers. Jesus taught his disciples to pray and then taught them how to pray. And we don't just find it here in Matthew chapter 6 or in the disciples' prayer. In the next chapter, Matthew 7, he taught them about asking, seeking, and knocking. He told them the parable of the persistent widow in Luke chapter 18. In John 14 to 16, there are a number of occasions there where Jesus taught his disciples principles of prayer. Jesus wanted them, and he wants modern day disciples to pray. Oh, and this is not a chore, is it? What a delight it is to spend time in prayer. It's a wonderful thing just to set aside time and just to engage with our Father in a time of personal, intimate, passionate prayer. But of course, we could add to that it also is a responsibility. In Matthew chapter 9, Jesus commanded his disciples to pray that the Lord of the harvest would send out laborers. So yes, it isn't a chore, it is a delight, but there is also a sense of responsibility belonging to the believer that yes, if I'm going to follow Jesus Christ, this is something that's really important for me to do. Then Jesus went on to say this, "When you pray, go into your room and shut the door." Now let's think about that. Why would Jesus insist on that? Cannot we pray while we're washing the dishes and hanging up the clothes or going for a walk? Of course we can. It's one of the great things. Prayer is very versatile. We can pray while we're driving. We can pray at the gym. We can pray on a surfboard. We can pray in a spaceship. It doesn't matter where we are. There are all kinds of opportunities to pray. However, there is something to be said about set-apart praying. There is something particularly special about moving to a quiet place and then engaging in prayer to the Father, where we do nothing else but pray. Of course, this was Jesus' practice. He was not here just giving a instruction to the disciples that he didn't practice. We read in Luke chapter 5 verse 16 that he would often withdraw to desolate places to pray. We find this on a number of occasions in the Gospels. The greatest occasion being John chapter 17, the longest recorded prayer of Jesus. He liked to and he needed to spend time away in quiet places. So for him to say this to us, to go to a quiet place and actually shut the door behind you, it's really Jesus highlighting that we need that privacy. We find Daniel doing such a thing, praying in solitude. We find Peter praying on a rooftop. There's just something special about praying in a bedroom, in a garage, in the lounge room where we're the first person up in the morning, out underneath the stars, finding a quiet place early in the morning, after lunch, late at night, where we just go and we say, this is my time for engagement with the Father. Again, it's just a wonderful thing. It's an important thing to do. And there's actually a reward for it. Jesus promised a reward, because at the end of the verse, he said that if we will go into the room and pray privately to our Father in secret, he finishes by saying, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. So friends, there is a reward for it. He doesn't say what the reward is. The prayer time itself is a great blessing, but Jesus promises there is a reward. We can bank on that. Friends, this really is worth doing. This is worth setting aside quality time for. Early in the morning, late at night, whatever time works for us, whatever time we're most alert, just saying, I'm going to give this time to my Father and just enjoy communion with him and engaging in intercessory prayer for others. That's a wonderful thing.